While networks can be simple or complex, there are several tools which are invaluable when troubleshooting network connectivity problems. No matter how complex the network is, you should always follow a troubleshooting methodology which will help you quickly isolate and pinpoint the problem. Up to this point, you should have a basic understanding of networking and know how to configure a system to connect to a network. This continues the discussion on troubleshooting. Since network issues can be complex, there are multiple tools within Windows, including ipconfig, ping, tracert, pathping, netstat, telnet, and nslookup. This section is an excellent place to review using the troubleshooting methodology. ipconfig displays information about your network connections. The first place when troubleshooting network connections is to look at the system's current configuration. Therefore, you would use the ipconfig command. You can also open the IP configuration dialog boxes to manually check the addresses assigned, the subnet mask, the default gateway, and the DNS servers. However, if they are configured for DHCP, you will still have to use the ipconfig command to view the host received. Also, be sure that you understand that when a host receives a 169.254.x.x address or automatic private IP address, a PIPA, the system is not communicating with a DHCP server and will not connect with any other network system. Ping is used to check connectivity. When you have your system configured properly, this section discusses to see if you have network connectivity to the target host, and if used properly, it can tell you where the failure is occurring. Again, you need to use troubleshooting methodology to efficiently troubleshoot the problem. So be sure you are following the steps discussed in this section. TraceRT, or traceroute, displays the path a packet takes to reach its destination along with vital information. nslookup displays DNS records and allows query of the DNS database. To troubleshoot naming resolution problems, you will use the nslookup command to troubleshoot problems with DNS, and you will use nbtstat to troubleshoot problems with WINS. You can also use the ping command that uses a name which will translate to an IP address. Lastly, if the data on a DNS server was changed, you may need to flush the DNS cache with the ipconfig /flush DNS, or manually register your IP address with a DNS server by using the ipconfig /register DNS command. nbtstat or nbstat, NetBIOS or legacy name resolution. Netstat displays information about the ports. Troubleshooting problems with port usage is challenging because it is not a common problem and it is sometimes difficult to grasp. To see what ports are used in Windows, you need to use the netstat command. You can also use the telnet command, although the telnet command requires a little more experience. Lastly, the book introduces the port query command. So in this chapter, in Lesson 2, we looked at these skills. When diagnosing network problems, you must first determine the extent of the problem, including whether it affects one host or multiple hosts. This will help you determine where to focus your attention. If the problem only affects one computer on a subnet, the problem is most likely with the computer itself, the network interface, or the cable that connects them to the switch or hub. Don't forget layer 1, the physical layer, will get you every time. If the problem is affecting more than one computer, you may need to look for a centralized component to those computers. A host is any device that connects directly to a network. An IP address is a logical address and numerical label that is assigned to a device connected to a computer network. Today, most IP addresses are based on the traditional IP version 4 addresses that are based on 32-bit numbers. The earliest IP version 4 addresses used a classful network design where the first 3 bits of the first octet define the class A, B, and C. The subnet masks specify which bits are network bits and which are host bits. Classless inter-domain routing (CIDR) was developed to utilize the networks more efficiently. Instead of using the predefined subnet mask, CIDR is based on variable length subnet masking, or VLSM, where you can take a network and subdivide the network into smaller subnets. Network address translation is used with masquerading to hide an entire address space behind a single IP address. In other words, it allows multiple computers on a network to connect to the internet through a single IP address. Private addresses are reserved addresses not allocated to any specific organization. Since these private addresses cannot be assigned to global addresses used on the internet, you must use a NAT gateway or proxy server to convert between private and public addresses. IP version 6 provides a number of benefits for TCP/IP-based network connectivity, including 128-bit address space to provide addressing for every device on the internet with a globally unique address. A default gateway is a device, usually a router, that connects to the local network to other networks. In today's networks, you assign logical addresses such as IP addressing. Unfortunately, these addresses tend to be hard to remember. DNS, short for Domain Name System, is a hierarchical client-server-based distributed database management systems that translates domain host names to an IP address. Another name resolution technology is Windows Internet Name Service, or WINS, which translates from NetBIOS, the computer name, to a specific network resource. Since the growth of the internet and the scalability of DNS, WINS is considered a legacy system. The Network and Sharing Center provides real-time status information about your network. It can be used to configure and manage your network connections, including managing your wireless networks, connection types, and the level of access you have to other computers and devices on the network. Network Discovery allows this computer to see other network computers and devices and make it visible to other network computers. To identify which packets belong to a network service or program, a host uses ports. If a computer is configured to receive an IP address from a DHCP server and one does not respond, the computer will use the automatic private IP addressing, which generates an IP address in the form of 169.254.x.x and the subnet mask of 255.255.0.0. The ipconfig command, one of the most useful commands when troubleshooting network problems, displays all current TCP/IP network configuration values and refreshes dynamic host configuration protocol and domain name system settings. The ping command verifies IP level connectivity to another TCP/IP computer by sending Internet Control Message Protocol, or ICMP, echo request messages. nslookup.exe is a command line administrative tool for testing and troubleshooting DNS name resolution.